Happy Thursday and welcome here to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, and boy, do we have a big one on tap for you today with Nebraska-Colorado. It doesn't get much bigger than this, but before we get to that, Husker Online Headlines brought to you by HelloFresh. No better company to get your meal prepping and dinner ideas and from than HelloFresh. We've used HelloFresh now for over a year at my house. They send you the box of food and ingredients, everything you could possibly need to make the meal, an easy to use recipe card. They deliver it right to your house. You can customize how many meals you want per week, 2, 3, or 4. You can do lunch, dinner, breakfast options. They have it all, and they have tons of great options to choose from. We've got a great special as well for Husker Online viewers at HelloFresh.com/freehusker. That's going to get you free breakfast for life with your HelloFresh subscription. That's HelloFresh.com/freehusker. Thank you again to HelloFresh for sponsoring us here on Husker Online Headlines. But let's get into it. Headline number one, let's welcome into the program a pretty big figure right now in the world of Colorado sports media, Sean Keeler from the Denver Post, the columnist for the Post, who we've known Sip since he's been in Des Moines many years ago, and he's causing trouble these days in Denver. I see, Sean Keeler. You are on Deion Sanders' house arrest, it appears, but we appreciate you joining us. It's a big week, obviously, in Denver, and big week here in Lincoln.
Thank you for having me. I've known you several pounds ago, as I say. You guys knew me when I had hair. That's how long it's been.
Well, I mean, we're both follically challenged. I often wear a hat, a cap, but not today. I maybe it's too big of a week. All right, you want to go ahead, Sean?
Well, yeah, Sean. First, I guess let's get right to the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
What are the challenges of your job right now, covering the University of Colorado, when the university and the head football coach is not allowing the lead columnist from the largest newspaper to go to attend press conferences?
Oh no! Now I can attend press conferences.
You can attend.
Yeah, I can attend. I just sit there with a gag in my mouth, like it's an old Superman cartoon. It's a little surreal. Yeah, I'm Lois Lane. It's a little surreal. Is it impossible? No. Is it difficult? Yes. Is it unfortunate? Very. Is it surprising? No. I've talked to Sip about this privately. I certainly don't. I've certainly said it to folks out loud. I think we were going to get to a breaking point, and it just broke about a month earlier than I thought it would.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you've handled it really well. I think it's sort of ridiculous that Deion Sanders does this thing where he kind of identifies people he likes and doesn't like, takes questions from certain people and doesn't take questions from others. I think it's a very sort of amateurish way to go about it. I really laud you for handling it well. I mean, you've stayed upbeat, and you can still cover the team. You're at the press conferences. You'll be at the game.
Mm-hmm.
What do you expect from this Colorado team? You don't need to give a prediction right now, but what do you want to see? What do Colorado fans want to see from this team?
Well, I think they want to see what you think they would, and that is they want to see them bow up, on the lines and in the trenches, because I think that to me is still. Yeah. There were a lot of questions answered from last Thursday night, and I'm sure you guys saw it. I know everybody nationally is going to talk about the last minute 41. What gets lost in that is that, and this would worry me a little bit if I were a Big Red fan, is that there was some actual progress and actual adjustments in that second half that I did not see out of last year's staff, and say the Stanford game, say the Oregon State game, all those heartbreaking home losses that got you to 4-8. There was a little of that last week, but I still don't know if they can hold up to a Big Ten offensive and defensive line. And that is the ultimate bottom line test if you are a Buffs fan going into this, because this is gonna answer that question right away as to whether you've got a power four level lines on both sides of the ball with all that changeover.
We were in Boulder, obviously, last year, Sean, and that at least to me felt like the peak of the prime era. They were 2-0. It was the home opener, 10 a.m. kick, and you would have thought, I mean, it was unbelievable atmosphere. I mean, how much have things changed in your opinion, since kind of that day in Boulder, which really felt like the pinnacle of where things were going with Deion Sanders at that time?
Yeah, you could argue for that weekend or the lead, what that weekend led into with two. I agree with you, Sean. I would contend respectfully the two dueling studio shows for the Colorado State weekend was arguably the peak. But performance-wise, yeah, on the field, absolutely. And that led to then everybody coming to town, literally everyone from The Rock on down. It's a little more, there's a healthy skepticism outside of Boulder. As you guys know, sometimes the Boulder, Denver, for being next to each other, the Venn diagrams don't always intersect universally. And certainly when CU is bad, as you guys know full well, they don't intersect at all. It's just this little, it's just floating off in its own little bubble. So I think Denver is skeptical. Boulder is hopeful. And this weekend and next, because then again, they go back-to-back Nebraska and CSU weekends here on the Buff side, are going to tell a lot about the market's trust / interest in where this narrative is going to go.
How well does seems this is going to strike you as a loaded question. How well does Deion handle these skeptical questions? That part of the fan base that sort of questions what's going on. How does he? I mean, I'm asking again. This is a crazy question to you. The media that dares question Deion. How does that go over?
He doesn't.
Right.
Well, he does. He does to a point, but if you are a repeat offender,
okay.
Again, air quotes for those listening, offender, that tolerance is small, that window is narrow, and that patience is very thin. So again, as I said before, we were going to get to this point because it wasn't just that I was the loudest voice of dissent and asking questions. There was a period, and Sip, we've talked about this. There was a period when they demoted Sean Lewis last year, which is where I started to go, what are we doing here? Like, I gave the dog, the Baru face, the 45-degree angle tip, where I started to go, what are we trying to get out of this again? When they demoted the best assistant they'd ever hired in this stretch, I started to go, I'm not wholly convinced that this is not somebody who's in it for A, his TV show, and B, his kids' careers, in that order, or maybe his kids' careers, then the TV show, and then whatever else happens. And I haven't changed from that. And I think because my questioning has been under that presumption, they don't appreciate that. And anywhere Deion Sanders has been, if he doesn't appreciate or presumes your angle and presumes your heart, he will not deal with you. And that has been a consistent thing throughout his professional career. And he's chosen to not deal with me. And I'm not sure I'll be the last, but I guess ask me after these 2 weeks when they really get through the gauntlet, the first gauntlet they have. If that's 1 and 2, I don't think it will be, but if it is, and more people start coming out and saying, where are the clothes, Emperor? Where are the clothes? I think there may be other people added to that list, but who knows?
Sean, though, in full context, is anyone ever allowed to like speak to Deion like in a private reporter coach situation where you can just say, hey, off to the side, I just wanted to ask you this, or is everything pretty much controlled for the cameras on the stage?
Everything is controlled for the cameras on the stage because we tried all that. You know, this is not my first rodeo. I've been doing this a lot longer than Deion Sanders has been coaching, as Sip knows full well. We have tried off to the side things. We have tried to go around the structure. And every time you went around the structure, there was someone from Deion's media team at SMAC or a cadre of security / other media folks that he brought with him that would shelter him and walk off in like a semicircle. It's like having Elvis as your coach. I guess it's just this sort of weird, congregation that comes on, a weird congregation that comes off, and then you only see them once a week or twice a week, or maybe only once every 2 weeks, if that. It's been extremely restrictive, extremely different than either of the three coaches I've covered in the 5 years prior. I mean, again, three coaches in 5 years says something about where CU is and was. Yeah, it's just very, very unique. And we understood that some of that was coming. We were forewarned by a lot of media and a lot of other markets what this would be like. But it's been that kind of times 10. It's not been like anything I've ever covered ever.
I do want to ask you one other thing, Sean, before we wrap things up. You've covered multiple markets that don't like Nebraska. You were in Iowa for years.
Yeah,
you were now in Colorado for years.
Yeah, Kansas City.
I mean, so you've kind of been the writer for the enemies of Nebraska. What has that been like, and how would you describe the kind of the people in Colorado's feelings towards Nebraska, maybe compared to the other places you've been a writer at?
Good question.
Oh, yeah, that is a very good question. Oh, I think it's far more personal. I think, I still don't think of Iowa and Nebraska as a rivalry, really, in that sense, the way I think of Colorado and Nebraska as a rivalry, or the way that I think of, because I'm showing my age, I'm still younger than Sip.
Everybody is.
I show my age in that it's not the way that I think of Oklahoma and Nebraska as a rivalry. I kind of go OU, then CU, and then whatever the Big Ten made up because they had to, and it was convenient. And I look at CU and Utah the same way. I just see a contrivance and go, this isn't it. And based on the way that Utah has handled them, it really isn't a rivalry. So I think the enmity from the 80s and 90s and aughts is still very much alive, because in Boulder, they never really replaced it. Like Nebraska kind of replaced it. In Iowa, in that game, it's still Black Friday. It's nationally relevant. It meant something for the West. RIP Big Ten West. We're all gonna miss some of that on some levels.
Yes.
The American League Central of college football, but when the White Sox were trying, the lovely irrelevance of the Big Ten West, competitive balance of the Big Ten West. So it's just never been the same. Utah has never been the same. Like, there was a logic to see you going to the Pac-12 financially and geographically. It is basically a California school. It's never stopped being the Berkeley of the Big 8, the Berkeley of the Big 12, but they lost that uniqueness when there already was a Berkeley of the Pac-12. They didn't need another one. So they do miss that. I think they like being the redheaded stepchild, a granola campus in a brisket league. They liked that. And I think they missed that. They probably miss Nebraska way more than Nebraska misses them. And I don't know if they'd admit it, but they miss them a lot.
Well, Sean, we appreciate you taking some time before you travel out to Lincoln, and we're looking forward to seeing you on Saturday. Yeah,
I'm going to Homer's tomorrow. Gonna get me some records. Gonna hang out in the old market. I can't wait.
No, you're kidding me. That's what you're gonna do?
Yeah.
Good for
you. Drastic Plastic is closed. I still have my Drastic Plastic T-shirt. It's one of my favorites.
Hey, Dave Matthews was in Homer's. He had a concert in Omaha like a year or two ago, and he was just randomly in there on a Saturday shopping.
It's great. I don't know if that's great company, but yeah, I'll try to top that.
It attracts. Well, hey, Sean, hope you find some good food out here Friday night, and we'll see you Saturday at the game.
See you there, guys. Thanks for having me.
See you. Thanks a ton, Sean.
Thank you again to Sean Keeler. And before we get to that, and headline number 2, HuskerOnline headlines brought to you by CHI Health Priority Care. And Priority Care walk-in care is available right now at CHI's health clinics. It is so simple and easy to use. They are open 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. They have locations in Lincoln, Omaha, Council Bluffs, Grand Island, Kearney, and they will treat patients 3 months old, for anyone 3 months or older, for non-life-threatening illnesses or injuries. And it's bailed me and my family out multiple times. When you have a weekend sickness on a Sunday night and you don't want to mess around with the doctor on Monday or Tuesday, I've gone in there on a Sunday or a Saturday. I've been seen and picked up my prescription, because they do have a pharmacy on site as well, and you're off and running. It is the perfect way to take care of your health when you don't have a lot of time either, and they are a first-class operation. That's Priority Care at CHI Health. Check them out at chihealth.com/priority care. Thank you to CHI Health for sponsoring us on the Husker Online show. Okay, Steve Sipple, let's get into Sean Keeler, because that was some interesting stuff there, just about kind of what his day-to-day is like. And my suspicion was correct. There is zero opportunity there for anybody to get kind of a personalized relationship with whatever you want to, the Deion Sanders people and his staff.
Right. Because all of the handlers, and you just can't get close to him. He doesn't want to get close to anybody. And I mean, I want to go back. I really am impressed with the way Sean Keeler has handled this matter. This matter that everybody knows about. He's met it head on. He hasn't cowered. I know that there's some media people that say in that moment, in that public moment when Deion kind of called him out and took him on, that some people would say Sean maybe should have went back at him harder. Easier said than done. I think in that situation, you don't do that.
You lose because they have the final word always.
Yeah. Good point. That's a good point. I thought he handled it fine. He absolutely eviscerated Deion in a column. And it was an excellent column. And I'm not necessarily saying that I want to see Deion be eviscerated, but in that instance, I thought it was appropriate. But I appreciate, for instance, Sean just coming on, and he told me, yesterday that, yeah, you can ask me questions about it. I mean, he said, I've been taking questions. I appreciate that about him. And I can tell you behind the scenes, it hasn't been easy, but he's willing to join us. And he's done other interviews too.
Yeah. Covering that team would be a roller coaster.
Would it be a roller coaster, or would you just say it'd be terrible?
Yeah. Cause
I mean, I just say terrible.
Well, just the normalcy of like covering, there's no recruiting coverage.
Great.
They don't recruit high school players.
Wonderful.
And then everything is transfer portal, and it would just be hard to even, all the movement on the roster.
Yeah. I don't mind saying what I said. I think it would not be fun. It would be unpleasant. I mean, Sean gave you kind of a peek into it. Not that you need a lot of personal time with the head coach, but to get to know him is helpful.
And to put in perspective with Coach Rule, he's very accessible to us. Like,
yeah.
If we needed him for something and it's important, I could reach out to him directly.
Right. And for instance, what they can relate to, Sean, is he does this thing at the podium, Coach Rule. But when he walks off, he doesn't have 12 people walking off with him. You can approach him, and if you have a follow-up question, he'll be happy to stop, generally, if he has enough time.
I mean, he's in it. If you see him out and about, he's approachable. It's not like,
right.
When we're at camps or events, and he's had sessions for the reporters where it's kind of an off the record. He hasn't done one of those in a while where you sit down and can just ask him anything.
Yeah, he did.
And that's a little challenging at Nebraska because the group is so big.
Yeah. Now here's my question to you. If Deion were watching this, would he say, "What do you mean I'm not would he say, "What do you mean I'm not approachable? I'm approachable. I'm approachable. I'll talk to anybody." I think he might say that.
And the thing is, like, Frost, when he was the head coach, was not really approachable here, but
not really.
He had other people around him that could speak on behalf of the program, and you could get information from them if you needed that.
Now, I want to be fair. See, we always have to be fair in these conversations. I will tell you this, and you know this, and you probably did it too. After Frost would make a podium appearance, you could talk to him. I'd walk out with him sometimes. So I don't want to say he was that standoffish. Now, Scott just didn't. I mean, he wouldn't mind me saying this. I'm not being unfair. He just didn't like media.
And he wasn't a guy you could get on the phone very easily.
Not really.
And I can only imagine Deion Sanders would be the same way. Like,
I can't imagine you call him up.
Like, no, you would never.
See, now here's the thing, though. I always think about the other side of it. And maybe Deion would say, "No, I got some reporters I talked to, very select, probably."
Well, Brian Howell, who we've got to know and talked to our site this week from the Denver.
I wonder if he talked. I don't know.
Brian Howell seems like the main guy, and then Adam Munster-Tiger used to work at Rivals. He's at 24/7. He runs the bigger website for him. So I mean, those are the two I would call main buff beat writers on the ground floor.
as far as the rivalry go, I don't know why. Call me babe. It still strikes me when I hear someone like Sean Keeler say it's personal. The rivalry's personal. It is, though. I mean,
it gets under their skin.
What is it, Sean?
I just think it gets under their skin how much we care about it here.
Okay.
Like in 2019, I'll never forget that scene. How many Nebraska people were out there? Nebraska was ranked. They were picked to win the West. And Scott Frost's second year, 65% of the stadium was occupied.
Right. That would be annoying if you were if you were a Colorado fan.
They did that Buffalo thing around the stadium where Ralphie runs the stadium. And the video of it was like he was running around red. It was all red.
Interesting.
And the good seats were red. Not, there's those sections for the visitors that are always Nebraska seats, but like the club level and all the Nebraska bought it all out.
Yeah.
And, that guy,
that annoys them.
And they were up 17-0 at halftime. And they somehow they figured out a way to blow that game.
Right.
It was so close to them just literally taking their army and invading town and taking everything over.
And the scene afterward was
hostile
and in many ways inappropriate. I guess you'd say, well, yeah, it's just fans being fans, but it's like grown men being kind of strange.
Yeah, just getting
not kids.
Fans being fans is not getting in someone's face and using the F word.
Well, I don't think that's fair. That's certainly. I don't want to say that no Nebraska fans ever done that. You got to be careful with that, but you certainly see more of that in Colorado.
I would say too, the last two trips out there, it was different because it was in September.
Okay.
And when you would go out there Black Friday, it was a 10 a.m. game out there a lot of years, sometimes 1:30, depending on when ABC aired the game, local time. But the students were off campus for break.
Good point.
And I think when you would go out there in the heat, there's Bill Callahan after a big Colorado win, it looks like.
Yep.
But when you'd go out there in September, it's hot, it's nice. The college just started up. It was a different vibe, I would say.
Yeah.
Going out there the last two times than the traditional Black Friday games.
Yeah, it was. Raucous doesn't do it justice. It was amazing.
Like, who is that coach for Colorado? I don't even know. They've had so many coaches. I don't even know who Bo Pelini was just hugging there.
I can't say. I can't say. I wonder. I don't know. There's a lot I wonder about. I don't know what to say about Colorado fans, but here we go. They're going to be. I don't know how many will be in the stadium on Saturday night.
Well, the visitor allotment, I believe, is usually 3,000.
That'll be about it.
And then whatever else they want to buy. And the face value of this ticket is like $240.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. Dannon's going to pay some bills with these tickets, I think, on this one.
Yeah, good.
It will be a good day. But before I take it to headline number 3, Husker Headlines brought to you by Ellerbrock-Norris. They've been helping Nebraska business owners protect their purpose for over 120 years. With risk management solutions built for local businesses, Ellerbrock partners with you on commercial insurance, group benefits, business exit planning, safety, and more. Start thinking long-term with your business and create a risk management strategy to protect it. Are your employee benefit costs going to the roof? Talk to Ellerbrock. Are workplace injuries skyrocketing your workers' compensation costs? Talk to Ellerbrock. Hoping to retire in the next 10 years and sell the business to key family, employees, or even a friendly competitor? Talk to Ellerbrock. Ellerbrock-Norris is helping you protect your purpose, whether it's your business and the employees in it, your life outside of work, or your future retirement goals. Head to ellerbrock-norris.com/HuskerOnline today. Get your free risk evaluation. Thank you to Ellerbrock-Norris for sponsoring us here on the Husker Online Show. Okay, headline number 3, Steve Sipple. This is a big night for defensive coordinator Tony White.
It is.
You think about last season, the Michigan game was a rough one, but he didn't have a lot of rough Saturdays. The Colorado game was one of them. Early on, he kind of had a code for Shedeur Sanders and what they were doing, but then the turnovers of the offense kind of led to everything falling apart. And I'm sure Tony White really, really wants to amend the way his unit played in Boulder a year ago.
Yeah, for sure. In Tony White, his star was really, it shone really brightly during the off season. There was all that, what the storyline with Tony is he going to become a head coach? And they, Rule made an announcement that he had a chance to, kind of an announcement. He said it publicly that he had a chance to, and Nebraska was able to keep him. So I look at it kind of in that. I look at this game in that context. He has this aura right now that seems. I was going to say he has an aura. I almost was going to say that seems impenetrable, but I don't know. I think. Sean, it kind of gets down to this. We talk about Nebraska as being a potentially great defense or a great defense as a top 10 level defense. Sean, we're going to find out. We'll find out more.
I'll say this.
Are they a top 10 defense? Well, let's see it now.
When you watch the North Dakota State-Colorado game,
which I did,
it was hard not to be impressed with what Colorado was doing on offense. I mean, Shedeur Sanders is a very good football player. Those three receivers, there may not be a better 1-2-3 group around.
Yeah, to put that in perspective, LeJontay Wester
had over 100 catches.
Was second in the nation last year with 1,028 receiving yards. Chicken Nick alert. I'm pretty sure it was 1,028. Second in the nation. He's their third receiver.
He'd be a number one for a lot of people.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Jimmy Horn would be a number one.
Yeah.
And Travis Hunter is a number one for 99% of teams.
Yeah. Probably some NFL teams. What I'm suggesting is that LeJontay Wester is a distant three. He's a distant three because those other two guys, and I'm so glad that Matt Rule this week said what he said about Jimmy Horn. Yeah. Travis Hunter is scary. Horn, I think in some ways is just as scary. He's fast. Sean, he's faster than Hunter. He's not big. He's 5. I saw it on 3. I think he's 5'9", 180. About that, but man, you just don't see many guys in college football who run as fast as Horn. You don't see many guys in college football who run as fast as Horn.
And our own Joseph Meyer at HuskerOnline did a great breakdown of the Buffs, and these stats got my attention. Travis Hunter on 8 targets last week. The average depth of his targets was 15.6 yards down the field.
And what was it for Horn?
For Horn, it was 15.2.
Right.
So what it tells you is they're not going to waste those guys on a bunch of dink and dunk stuff. It's going to be down the field, and Shedeur Sanders is going to let that arm be showcased.
Yeah.
And Nebraska's got, it's not going to be a tackling game. It's going to be, are you able to run at these guys and then make the tackle when they catch it? But It's not going to be like, let's throw it 2 yards and see if they can make you miss.
Not a lot of that.
They resemble more what you see in the pros.
Not a lot of that. There'll be a little bit of that. I mean, Hunter's first touchdown against North Dakota State was a more shallow pass, and he spun out of a tackle and then went. See, you're alluding to that, Sean. When they get those type of plays, you got to make the tackle. Don't let him spin out.
LeJontay Wester, he's going to be the more his average depth is 8 yards. So he's more your underneath guy. Horn and Hunter are going to be down the field.
Yeah. So Shedeur presents a lot of problems. I think the one that concerns me the most is when he scrambles, he's scrambling to throw. He's not scrambling to scramble. He's scrambling. He keeps his eyes up. He knows where the line of scrimmage is, and he's looking for guys. And that puts a lot of pressure, even if you happen on that play to get a good pass rush. But he gets out. Now there's enormous pressure on the secondary to keep covering those very elusive receivers.
The other thing Joseph highlighted was Shedeur Sanders on 39 dropbacks that he had. Not one was a turnover situation, meaning like he didn't force it. He didn't try to make a bad throw. So he's going to throw it a lot, and he's not going to make that many. The only way Nebraska can force turnovers on him is if they hit him. They've got to hit him, and they've got to get pressure on him and force fumbles. And they sacked him 8 times last year, right?
Yeah, they did. Nebraska sacked Colorado quarterbacks 8 times. I thought they got him 7, but whatever. Joseph also had a very good stat on what Shedeur was under duress. under pressure.
6 of 8 when blitzed.
When blitzed. Really
for
strong.
143 yards and 3 touchdowns.
That's really strong.
So 3 of his 6 completions when blitzed, 3 of them went for touchdowns.
See, that's scary.
And in North Dakota State is not
scary.
chopped liver.
No, they're not. See, that stuff is scary. So my counsel to Nebraska fans, they don't need my counsel, but I give free counsel, is be patient. You're going to get stung. You're going to get hurt. You're going to be up there. You're going to be up there. We're going to be up there watching, and they're going to make big plays. You just hope they're in the middle of the field and that they aren't running into the end zone. Make them kick field goal.
In North Dakota State, to use like a March Madness analogy, it'd be like an NCAA tournament. You watch the older veteran mid-major team that may not be as gifted or athletic as Kentucky in basketball or somebody, but they were in the right place at the right time. They didn't make any mistakes, and they made that game interesting.
Oh, real interesting. It went to the final play. North Dakota State came up 4 yards short, basically, of winning the game.
Now, what will be also something to watch is they don't really want to run the ball. So how will White combat that? Can you just pin your ears back on every play, knowing that 95% of the time it's a pass?
Right. No, I don't know. Now, this is where I get out over my skis. We're not coordinators. They didn't run the ball last year at all. I mean, they tried.
No, well, North Dakota State game, they couldn't run the ball.
Right. They ran for 59 yards. I watched it. And having watched it, I don't feel quite as strongly as you do that they can't run it. They didn't run it well, but they got 2 pretty good running backs. They're not bad. I think their issues have been up front. I mean, I know they have. Sean, they were last in the country in rushing last year by a long way. This year, they thought it would be better. I don't know if you could say after game 1 if it's better or worse. It's just game 1. I'm telling you, Offerdahl and Dallin Hayden aren't bad. They scare me a little bit. They might take off a couple times. So no, I don't think you just pin your ears back. But I will say this: I just feel for Jordan. I think his name is Jordan Seaton, the left tackle,
5-star guy,
the left tackle for Colorado. Who I hope if you're a Nebraska fan, you hope that Ty is over him most of the time. Ty Robinson. Because the combination of having Ty Robinson, who's an a-hole on the field, and he's also 6'6", 310. The combination of having Ty Robinson and that crowd, I just think if I were Seaton's dad, I'd be worried for my son. That I'd be worried for.
Well, and remember, Nebraska last week did not blitz once. Not once.
They did not.
They did not bring more than 4 any play.
What do you do here?
Well, you have blitzes you've never shown. You have coverages you've never shown. They played simple cover 2, cover 4 zone, drop back zone the whole game against UTEP. They did not have to do anything exotic at all, which is not a surprise.
No, I know. Okay, we talk about that blitz thing right after we established that Shedeur killed North Dakota State's blitz.
Yeah, but Nebraska will have a better blitz package. They have better athletes, better speed, better scheme.
Point. That's good.
You're gonna have the crowd noise.
Yep.
The timing, the rhythm.
I totally agree with you.
I mean, there's a lot of elements that are going to help. But all right, before I take it to headline number 4, HuskerOnline headlines, brought to you by Bauer Infrastructure and Bauer Underground. We're thrilled to bring back our partnership with Bauer Underground. They have served local contractors and utility companies in the state of Nebraska for years. Bauer Underground, Inc. gives 100% to assure quality control for their customers and has excellent management skills to supervise each and every job they contract for. The company and its employees are accustomed to deadline pressures on construction jobs and take tremendous pride in meeting the deadline requirements while maintaining excellent workmanship on each job. Strategy is at the heart of what they do. For more than 25 years, their reputation has been built on these basic principles: quality workmanship, on-time job completion, hiring and retaining high-quality personnel, utilizing the latest earth-moving techniques, maintaining safety for all of their customers and employees. We have a lot more coming from Bauer throughout the season, but we're excited to talk about them moving forward and grateful for their support of Husker Online. You can check them out at Bauer Underground to read more, BauerUnderground.com. And they have locations in Omaha, Lincoln, Kearney, and Norfolk. Thanks to Bauer Underground for sponsoring us here on Husker Online Headlines. Headline number 4, Steve Sipple. Could this be the last time Nebraska and Colorado ever play. There was some discussion about maybe, getting another series on the calendar. That's not happened at this point. With the unknowns in college football, this might be the end of what's been a 40-plus year rivalry that really began in about 1986.
Right. I hope it's not. I don't think it would. I'd be really, God, I hate to say the word sad, but I'd be saddened if this were the. Come on, we just established, Sean, what a hot rivalry it is. That emotion is what largely defines college football. There's, in fact, I would say if you're the powers that be at the respective schools, you make sure that this series continues. That it would be I think it would be sort of, I'm just going to say disappointing. I'll say disappointing if it goes away. And you can make it happen. Now, I know a lot of people this week have said, Sip, come on. They schedule 15 years out. Schedules change. They change. I mean, they move in and they move teams in and out. So it could happen. I hope to God it happens.
Well,
Sean, how would you feel about it?
Just from a Colorado perspective, those games in that stadium have been as entertaining. And I mean, for Nebraska losing, but to see the traveling of the fans, because you got to remember the whole western part of Nebraska, that's a home game for them.
Right. Sean, this is the only real rival Nebraska has. Who's the other real rival?
Iowa.
Contrived.
I
try to make it a rivalry. I do it. I play that game, but you got to kind of play a game to do it.
There was a point where it felt like there was some friction building between like Shenander and the Ferences and Frost. Like you could sense they didn't like each other.
Yeah,
but
it's over.
It never really got off the ground.
No, well, not really. That part didn't. I'm not saying that. I mean, Nebraska, Iowa is, I'd say, a budding rivalry. The issue is that Iowa has other rivals. They have other people like Minnesota that they care way more about being.
And I feel like Wisconsin,
Iowa State,
Nebraska really wanted Wisconsin to be a rivalry, but they've won every one of the meetings but one, and they couldn't even get that game protected.
They couldn't get it protected. You were there for the games recently, and there's at least one where there's not many people in the stand. I mean,
we've been out there twice.
There were a lot of empty seats.
Deer hunting season.
Yeah.
It's a 7-day rifle deer hunt season there.
Yeah.
Wow. And we happened to be there on opening that weekend of it the last two times. And it's a huge deal in Wisconsin.
Yeah. But I guarantee if they were playing Minnesota that day, it'd be packed.
You figure out a way to make it work.
Right. And Iowa's got other teams like Iowa State this weekend, for instance, that they worry about more.
Iowa's got three of them. They have Minnesota, they have Wisconsin, they have Iowa State, and they have Nebraska.
Yeah.
So they get 4 good rivalry games.
Nebraska might be the 4th on that list, Sean.
Yeah, Kansas State never really got off the ground.
Close, though.
It was close.
It was getting there.
KU never got off the ground, obviously. It would be different now, though.
Can't you play Colorado on a semi-regular basis going forward? Troy Dannon.
4 times every 10 years?
Something like that.
That's
a little more than that.
Well, right now, they did a 4-game series from 2018 to 2024.
Okay.
So they essentially did 4 games in over 6.
Right.
And then they had Oklahoma. And that was Osborne. Tom Osborne and Bill Moose and those they worked to get those games in. Like Bill Moose wanted to the historical games that meant something for the non-conference.
I'm just here to state the obvious. Okay. I'm here to state zoom out. How good does this feel this week talking about this game? Now there's a lot of angles. So there's a lot of interesting angles, but one of them is just how hot the rivalry is.
Well, and the fact that Nebraska's blown it out there twice.
Yeah.
And they blew it in Lincoln. I mean,
3 straight losses.
JD Spielman dropped a ball that would have won the game and iced it, and they could have kneeled it out. And then Colorado ended up winning the game. Yeah,
you pointed out in your column today that since the rivalry was renewed, 4-game rivalry, basically 4 games in this segment of it, Nebraska's lost all 3. That's partly what makes this game so big. As you pointed out, last word. They can get the last word, maybe not the last word forever, but the last word for a while.
And I'm not even going to get into it if the Nebraska students are going to get a word on if Nebraska wins this, because boy, that field storming debate we talked about
Did get hot.
Yeah, a lot of
there's a lot of strong opinions about
very
that.
strong. And look, I just brought it up. Like, could we see that happen?
You're an advocate of it.
Well, it'd be fun.
I'm an advocate of it.
I mean, I just think of the young kids at Nebraska. They have not, like, everyone's like, we're above that. Well, none of these kids here know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know that Nebraska's above it at this point.
But there are a segment of the older fans, but they're not the students.
Right.
They're the kids will do what they want to do.
I think that it just, to me, it falls in the category of college football is a lot of it's just about emotion. And that sort of emotion is very beautiful. It wouldn't bother me at all to see 5,000 people on the field Saturday night in red and white celebrating a victory. It wouldn't bother. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Think about these bookends. In 2001, Colorado beat Nebraska 62-36. And in terms of mile markers, that was the turn of Nebraska football.
100.
They've only been ranked in the top 5 for 1 week after the Rose Bowl. 1 week in 24 years. 1 week. 1 week.
Gotcha.
1 week.
Yeah.
And
what's the other bookend?
This could be the bookend, right?
Yeah,
here.
this could be the
Like,
bookend.
you know, in some ways, like, all right, you've beaten Colorado finally. You got Dylan Raiola. The program's heading in the right direction. This is the start of something special.
That's what you'd wonder. I mean,
that's what you hope. That's the optimistic hope. How it's going to, regardless what happens, it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a really fun night.
Yeah, really interesting for sure. And I really like Nebraska's chances. I really like them, because if what we know about football is correct, which is if you have the dominant lines, then you should win. And Nebraska does. I mean, if Colorado can, I will say this about Deion Sanders. If he can manage his way to a victory under those circumstances, that's pretty good coaching. If you can manage your way to a victory against a team where you're operating at a pretty significant disadvantage up front on both sides, that's tough to manage. It's tough to manage.
And it's going to be loud.
Oh, it's going to be intensely loud. It'll be breathtaking. It'll be breathtaking.
And if Nebraska wins this, our post-game show that we're going to do after the game, airtime between 11:30 and 12, depending on how the night flows. It's going to be a epic post-game show.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might have people outside the post office here where we do the show from, like, wanting just to get a glimpse of the post-game show.
I don't know if that would be.
Or there might just be partying in the rail yard still, but all right, before we take
a very uninteresting thing to watch, I will tell you that.
Before we take it to headline number 5, Steve Sipple. Headline 5 brought to you by who, Mr. Sip?
Well, let's do this. Hold on a second, Sean. You kind of sprung me. But it's by Larson Motors. If you're looking for a new vehicle, and if Nebraska's winning, people are a little more apt to spend their money.
They might drive down to where on Sunday?
Why not? Why not?
Where to?
Oh, they would drive to Nebraska City. Yeah, they would. Why not drive to Nebraska City? Go for a new experience at Larson Motors in beautiful Nebraska City. Larson Motors is one of the Midwest's only dealerships with all of the major brands in one location. Finding your new Chevrolet, GMC, Hummer, Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram really never has been easier. So, yeah, Sunday, why not? Start your new experience today or Sunday at LarsonMotorGroup.com or at just Larson Motors in Nebraska City. Larson Motors, Sean, real people,
real deals, and
real
good time of year to go to Nebraska City.
Well, I think it would be
Applejack Festival.
It'd be a beautiful drive, and it's always exciting. Think about the excitement of getting a new car. It's
nice light duty truck.
I could use. You know what? I'm getting close on.
You're getting some heat for driving a Colorado.
Ooh, I was.
Sipple drives a Chevy Colorado. And you live in Nebraska, Sip.
Sean, there's no tie. It's just a name of.
I know. But we're just having fun.
I have no affinity whatsoever. You know what? I will tell you. This is kind of harsh, but I have no affinity for the state of Colorado. In fact, it would feel like a punishment to live there. I don't want to live in.
My wife's brother.
Oh my God, that's going to get me in trouble.
My wife's brother lives there, and
Yeah.
his girlfriend is a Colorado grad.
Yeah. I don't want to live in Colorado. I don't want to live in Iowa. I wouldn't want to live there. There's probably parts of Colorado that would be beautiful.
And Alex, who works with our show behind the scenes in sales for us, he's a Colorado grad.
Good for him.
And he worked in the media. He worked for Dave Plotty.
Oh, there. I'm not.
So we're surrounded by people from Colorado.
Yeah, I better dig myself out of this hole. I'm sure there are fine people in Colorado. Of course there are. Just want to live there.
All right. Headline 5, odds and ends. A lot of other things I want to watch and talk about this weekend.
Okay, what is it, Sean?
Well, Texas, Michigan.
Oh, God.
Texas goes into the Big House.
Yeah.
And, Michigan looked a little challenged offensively. Didn't wow you with what they did. But
against Fresno State.
They had a great defense. And Fresno State's a good team.
They did.
I saw a power ranking of the group of 5. Fresno State might be the second or third best group of 5 team.
See, so Michigan won 30-10.
Yeah.
Pretty good win, actually.
Boise and Fresno are regarded as 2 of the best group of 5s this year.
Yeah, I don't really downgrade Michigan for winning that game 30-10 against Fresno State. I watched some film. I watched some clips of it. And if you look at, I always go to the lines. I just go straight to the lines. And Fresno State looked good up front on defense. So but that Michigan Texas is a monster game. It's a monster game.
You know what's going to be interesting though?
What
game will pull a higher television rating?
Okay.
Big noon kickoff with Michigan, Texas, which theoretically should pull a higher rating. It's Texas, Michigan at the big noon window, but you got the Deion Sanders effect, Nebraska, Colorado on NBC primetime
at night. Doesn't the night game maybe help Nebraska's and Colorado's case in that?
It depends. Like they generally say big noon is the better window because there's less competition.
Ooh, that will be interesting to get verifiable numbers on that. Which gets a higher rating?
Nebraska, Colorado last year did about 9 million on big noon.
It was good. It was like a top.
Texas, Michigan's going to do monster numbers.
Right. Well, yeah. So which one? Which one will do bigger?
I mean, realistically, it should be Texas, Michigan.
Yeah,
but
where the programs are
if
at.
Colorado, Nebraska gets it, it just tells you the power of Deion and the ratings bump he provides, and then also why this game should continue being played in the future.
Thank you. We need to make sure that we report on this show or our Tuesday show what those numbers were. We're duty bound, Sean.
You got Iowa State and Iowa as well.
Yeah, Iowa
and Iowa City.
Talked to some Iowa people today, media people that really like Iowa. I'll tell you, it's interesting. Iowa State, I guess, is really deficient offensive line. Okay, think about what I'm saying. Iowa State is really deficient up front on offense. What will Iowa do with that, Sean? What will Iowa do with
dominate?
That? Well, maybe. I mean, it seems possible. 27-10.
I just feel like Iowa State has been a bad matchup for Big Ten teams. Iowa has dominated because Iowa State can't match up with the Big Ten teams. They're not built like a Big Ten roster.
No, and they're banged. Iowa State is also banged up at linebacker. I would pick Iowa in that game.
Okay, in terms of network games that Nebraska's going against, ABC has Tennessee, NC State.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that one.
But Nebraska, Colorado will be squaring off in the network window against that game. So,
not much competition there.
I would say, Nebraska, Colorado has a great chance to win the ratings day. The 11 a.m. game is Arkansas, Oklahoma State on ABC. Notre Dame plays at 2:30. So yeah, Texas, Michigan is going to pull a monster number. Nebraska is going to pull. It's going to be a huge day for the Big Ten ratings. Huge.
Yep. God, that will be. So we'll see, Sean. We'll see. Who pulls the bigger number? It will be a very interesting discussion.
Kansas, Illinois.
But it's a huge game.
That's going to be going on right when we're watching Nebraska on FS1 at 6. But we both have a lot of interest in that game. You got Lance Leipold, who we both know well, and you communicate with Lance still regularly.
Right. And you're right. And Lance has done a magnificent job. We have to say that all the time. I don't even need to say it anymore. Illinois is sold out. That stadium's sold out. It's God bless those Fighting Illini fans. That'll be an interesting scene. Really tough game for Kansas. Not that Illinois is great, but you got to go on the road and beat them in a full stadium at night. Not easy.
It's a beautiful stadium at Champaign, actually.
It kind of is.
I mean,
if they would take care of that one end zone, the one end zone, I don't know what side it is, but the one end zone needs to be replaced. The stands.
We had a bad luck in our last trip there. We tried to go to the famous pizza place, Papa Del's, remember, in Champaign.
Yeah.
We couldn't even get help. That pizza place, we just walked out of there.
Was I in that?
Yes.
Okay.
You were on the phone the whole time.
Okay.
And we just said,
I remember vividly. No, that was that COVID related?
no, I mean, we're like 3 years past COVID.
Still think it was COVID related. Sean, that was a debacle. You couldn't get help. We've had some debacles on the road.
Oh yeah,
we have in that dining arena. That was a debacle.
Then we just went to Portillo's and it was like, yeah, this is where
it's pretty good.
Should have went all along.
Yeah, Portillo's is good.
But yeah, Illinois, Kansas.
Yeah, it's a big one. What else?
Other game. I mean, I've kind of given us all. I mean, the Tennessee NC State game is intriguing. That quarterback for Tennessee, who we met as relatives in the Polynesian Bowl, remember his uncle or the guy we talked to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a game to watch. I'm really interested to see how Tennessee goes on. That's in Charlotte, I believe.
Well, Tennessee, I mean, they have national title hopes. So they should go win that game.
Yeah, NC State's ranked.
I know, but they should go. Tennessee should win.
Tennessee is a favorite by 10 points right now.
Right.
So
there you go.
It's going to be a good weekend in general, and there's good games in every window, and we will have you covered here on Husker Online with everything you want to know about Nebraska and Colorado. Get online early Saturday. We'll have our predictions up. We'll have full coverage. There's also going to be over 40 recruits on campus.
Yeah, we should mention
that have offers. Not recruits, offered recruits, which in my time doing this job, this is the largest recruiting weekend in terms of offered visitors I've ever seen.
Interesting. Big ones, Michael Terry, Dawson Merritt,
Cortez Mills. Yeah, several. I mean, it's a laundry list of high-profile names that will be here. Brian Munson will be just working feverishly like he's answering phones at the Jerry Lewis telethon trying to keep up with this information.
Just dated yourself.
And we will have Steve Wilfong from On3. They're going to be doing a special show after a live show where Wilfong is going to be connecting with recruits as they leave the game.
How does that work?
He's going to be kind of like passing the information on what recruits thought of the day.
Really?
And I'm going to come on my walk back to the office. I'm going to come on with those guys. So
okay, Wilfong and who else?
I don't know who's hosting that one. If it's JD Piquel or Josh Newberg, one of those two guys.
See, what you just laid out there is one of the reasons, and there's more than one, that this is a monster night for Nebraska. There's a lot of ramifications. I don't want to present it as if Nebraska loses, all is lost, because it's not.
Let's put it out there. 9 million plus TV viewers, 40 offered visitors.
Full house.
Raucous. Think what this game does for NIL, future ticket sales, fundraising, stadium renovations.
Just general fan enthusiasm. I mean, it'd be so exciting here for the next week. You know, it'd be exciting. The next week, the UNI game would suddenly seem like have a little more zip to it, right?
Oh, and
everything would. And we don't even mention this could be Dylan Raiola really coming out. Two public appearances so far. Spring game, UTEP, resoundingly successful. Now, what if he takes the third step and is resoundingly successful from 9 million people or how many ever watched a game? Nebraska wins. Oh boy. Now, that's a hell of a storyline.
Well, there's rumblings of Mahomes being in the stadium.
Rumblings.
And it's not confirmed yet. I can tell you that. I have direct confirmation.
Patrick Mahomes.
But think if that happens. Like if the Chiefs play Thursday night and Mahomes just says, I'm coming up to Lincoln to watch Dylan.
If I were Mahomes and you have time, why not? I mean, I'm sure he can afford it. I mean, right. It would be fun.
His
See,
entourage.
that's another, it's sort of another, it's illustrative of the fact that it's got to be fun. I would counsel him to go.
Well, and the 94 team will be here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And Warren Sapp is
Yeah.
on the Colorado coaching staff.
No, it's incredible what's going on Saturday.
Can we get Warren Sapp and the 94 O-line just to do like a play simulation?
That'd be fun. God, that's a good picture of Dylan. Look at Dylan and Dylan.
We're in his Ohio State gear.
Oh, didn't see that, but whatever.
But man, I'm looking forward to it. So make sure you join us for Postgame Live on Husker Online. We will be on. Our window to start the show is going to be between 11:30 and midnight. I know it's late, but it's a night game. I will make sure Steve Sipple is well caffeinated. We might need to get some Spark energy drinks for you post-game show.
Okay, whatever you want.
But we're sponsored by Zipline. So the Zipline beverage of the post-game show will be also ready to roll for you, Sip.
I'll be fine. I'm ready.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on Husker Online Headlines. It's going to be a fun weekend. Hope to see you Saturday night here on Husker Online post-game live. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan.